Hello there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later because I've got a bit of a question for you. What's the best alternate mode for an Optimus Prime toy that isn't the traditional truck? I feel fairly certain that most people might say fire truck, although there have been plenty of other options over the years as well, including the likes of today's Spotlight, which is the rather unusual Bingo Sports x Transformers collaboration, and boy is it looking rather swish. Anyway, I'm a bit of a sucker for a licensed vehicle mode, so we're going to get into all of that today, but before we begin, I should mention that this review is brought to you by a new sponsor for the channel, and that is Hobby Genki, a collectible specialist with tons of Transformers stuff in stock and available for pre-order right now. They're based in Osaka, Japan, but they ship worldwide, and my experience with them has been fantastic so far, and they also have some incredible prices on various items that actually can't be beat elsewhere. So you will find some affiliate links down in the description below, so why not have a look and get yourself a bit of a deal today. So I think the first thing to acknowledge is that this car mode is pretty swish, isn't it? Looks great, really nice paint, nice and compact. There's a lot to appreciate here. I mean, the finish is pretty spectacular. That's some faultless flame decaling going on there with the livery and sponsor logos and everything else as well, and it just looks glorious up close. I do find some of the panel lining a little bit too obvious, and I have tried transforming this thing back and forth a few times to try and eliminate it, but that's about the best that I can get it. Got a bit of Transformers x Bingo branding on the side there. Unusual to see the Transformers logo on a Transformers toy, actually. That's a little bit of an oddity. Got two different colours of wheels, blue at the back, red at the front, so that's kind of funky. And really there is paint everywhere. I mean, these back tail lights look really good. There's a little Corvette logo just in the middle here as well, so major attention to detail going on here. And I kind of dig the little black Autobot logo on the roof just there, because it's a bit different, isn't it? And then of course you've got the Bingo logo on the spoiler too. That looks really cool. Although there are a couple of little bumps in the moulding just there, which interrupts the writing. And it's a shame because it looks like a defect, even if it isn't. Got some nice smoky translucent windows going on. That looks super stylish, and you can just about see some robot kibble going on in the inside there, but it's hidden well enough for my taste. So yeah, overall I got nothing but nice things to say about this car mode. As I say, a little bit of gappiness in the bonnet just there, but all told I think it looks fantastic, and it does roll really nicely as well. I mean, it feels slightly impeded, but it still sits on all four wheels, so all good. And it is worth mentioning that this is indeed a licensed Corvette alternate mode, and this is a heavy retool of the Studio Series Crosshairs mold, although with a new spoiler and of course that flame decaling and everything as well, and overall it looks very different to my eye, but absolutely gorgeous, as I say. Now, as I mentioned, this is not the first time that Optimus has been a car in Transformers history, and actually it was this precedent, if anything, that kind of drew me into wanting to check out this release, because I'm a major fan of both the Alternity release and the GTR retool that you can see here. In truth, I would have also liked the Bingo Sports release to be a little bit bigger, if anything, because I think the 1/32 scale of the Alternity and GTR releases is pretty much spot on, actually, because you kind of get that sense of presence of the car mode, but it's still kind of nice and fits on a shelf and everything as well. So this is a little bit smaller than that, which I think is a little bit of a shame, but still it does hold its own in terms of presence. And you know, as I say, I'm just all in on licensed alt modes in general, really. I mean, here you can see it with the much larger 1/24 scale of vinyl tech. Still, it's undeniably beautiful. I'm definitely enjoying the car mode. I've got no real complaints. It sort of ends up being a bit of a weird scale, if anything, because it's too big to fit in with Generation 1 stuff, if indeed you'd want to. I mean, here you can see it with the beautiful missing link cordon. I guess considering that it is a Studio Series retool, it's no great surprise that it kind of slots in against a lot of recent Generation stuff. I mean, here you can see it with the Legacy Stunticons, and although stylistically it's very different, scale-wise, it kind of works, I think. In truth, it's not like Generations, including Studio Series, has its own consistent vehicle mode scale though, so it's a little bit of a wing and a prayer when lining it up against any particular toy, and that's fine, but it looks there or thereabouts, I think. All in all, I've just resigned myself to not really worrying about what scale this thing is, truth be told, right? Like, it's just a very pretty looking car mode. I'm gonna stick it on a shelf with loads of other very pretty looking car modes. Job's a good one. Now, before we move on, we should talk weapon storage, because he has several guns, one of which can be pegged onto the rear bumper, just like that, and that looks pretty bad. Like, I'm not really sure that was it in terms of weapon storage, right? Like, I'm never displaying it like this. That's not anything. It's just pretty terrible. And it's kind of a weird one because this gun in the robot mode connects to the spoiler, like the spoiler sits on top of it, so you kind of feel like you could have done something with that, like here in the rear of the car, but there are no pegs or anything to kind of accommodate that, so a little bit of a strange one. And I guess that solution sticks out like a bit of a sore thumb because the other guns are very clever in terms of how they're stowed away. They're just here on the inside of the skirt, you can just see them sticking out there, and they're very hard to get to once they're in place, but they're stuck in there fast, you know, they're not going anywhere, so very clever solution in my opinion. Otherwise, my only real grumble here is this spoiler, which just pops out at any given opportunity. I really kind of wish that it held in there a little bit better than it does because it just comes off far too easily, so not a major grumble, but it's definitely something that irritates me. All told though, there's a lot to love about this car mode though. It's the real star of the show as far as this overall package goes, and I do think that a lot of real world car enthusiasts are going to get a bit of a kick out of it, but of course it's only half the story in this case, so let's go ahead and check out that transformation. There we go, that's transformation done, and whilst there's nothing too complicated going on there, I'm sure most will agree that's pretty shell-formery, right? Like he's literally wearing most of the car on his back, and that's just the way it is. I mean, as soon as you come around to the rear here, you'll see exactly what I mean. You've got the roof, you've got the bonnet all stashed up here, you've got the sides of the car, you know, the skirts and everything, and I don't mind it too much. I feel like people are going to definitely have something to say about it. It is sort of the inherent crosshairs design, just kind of translated for this Optimus toy, so kind of is what it is, I guess. I mean, you can sort of position it however you want because you can kind of fan it out to the sides a little bit, and I think that looks kind of cool. Like it's a little bit jetpack Optimus to my eye, or maybe I'm just reaching a bit too much with that, I don't know, or you can just fold it back up neatly, however you want it, I guess, but there are options. Likewise, these side skirts can kind of fan out to the sides, or they can be brought forward and kind of dangled down there if you really wanted them to, like little flame thigh pieces, if that's an option, I don't know, you do you. The long and the short of it though is that this is a heavily kibbled robot mode. There's no getting around that, and I kind of feel like if that was the only fault here, I could absolutely forgive it, but there are a few other grumbles to be had as well, I'm afraid. Chief among those is that this guy is a bit of a plain Jane in the paint department, at least in the robot mode. As I said, the car mode looks spectacular, but here you've got a lot of the same dull grey, unpainted plastic that we saw on the recent Studio series The Last Night toy, you know? I mean, there's a little bit of gold going on here, you've got the usual kind of bits of red and blue just on his chest just there, but everything including the face just looks spectacularly drab, I don't know. I mean, for what it's worth, I do think that the face sculpt itself is really, really good, and you do have to consider that this is actually quite a small toy, so what you're seeing here on screen is, you know, no doubt magnified, but actually the detailing, the moulding is quite exceptional if anything, and there are little pinpricks for the eyes and things like this, and what's there in terms of paint does look good, it's just there's not enough of it, I think. And as I say, it just really reminds me of that Studio Series toy in that regard. It's just that flat, dull grey plastic that kind of kills the mood a little bit, I think. You really see the contrast with areas such as the thighs where there is a little lick of silver, and that just pops so much more by comparison. But there are a few other quirks, including with posing. Now the head will move fairly freely from side to side, and it can look up and down a little bit. I mean, it's slightly impeded by these little bits on the chest, but it's not too bad. Likewise with the arms, they're impeded by these sort of sticky out shoulder pieces, so that's actually as far up as they'll go to the side, like really not very much at all. There is a butterfly joint of sorts in the shoulders there, so you will get a little bit of a wiggle, so that's nice, but there's definitely not that much range in the shoulders, real oddity. There is a bit of a bicep rotation though, and you'll get up to a 90-degree bend at the elbow, but there is no wrist articulation of any kind, unless you count the bit for transformation. Now there is no waist articulation, no waist rotation of any kind, so I feel like people are going to grumble about that a little bit as well, and fair enough, but the hips are really good. I mean, they will go very far up, so that's really decent, quite nice posing there, and there is a little mushroom peg in the leg for a bit of rotation at the thigh thigh as well. Now, these knees, got to talk about them because they are rather strange because there's 2 pins. So in theory, all good because it means you end up with double jointed knees that bend back quite far. So that is sort of appreciated. Except that this bottom pin here, which I think is where the knee bend should be, is not where the knees move when you're kind of manipulating them. They move at this top one, and that looks really, really strange. So just in kind of a normal position, that actually clicks into place on the bottom pin, and then you're left with that. And that to me doesn't work at all. So you kind of have to stick your thumb in there and kind of get it to move to look a little bit more natural, if anything. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. And the other slight oddity of this solution is that if you want a straight leg, like completely straight, then that top joint just there is kind of poking forward, if anything, like it's angled forward, which, I don't know, to my eye just looks a little bit strange. And again, there are 2 points at the ankles because there's a little hinge just in there for transformation, and then the ankle itself is on a ball joint, so you will get quite a decent range there. So really, really good in the feet. Anyway, all told, he is quite poseable actually. I mean, especially in those legs, I think those legs are great. It's the arms that let the side down, if anything, with the shoulders, and I don't know, I also don't really like these molded open hands. I think that looks a little bit cheap, if anything, so not my favorite, but the legs are really good, what can I say? Oh, and just so we're in no doubt, yes, there is a whole kind of mess of folded up car parts on the back there to kind of accommodate this pose, right? Like, that is just reality of this toy. Anyway, let's talk weapons, and the first thing you want to do is take that gun and the spoiler and kind of clip them together, as I mentioned earlier, and then that just clips very neatly inside the hand, and I do think that's a very creative use of the spoiler, considering that it was an additional piece from the crosshairs mold, so neat touch. Alternatively, if we come around to the rear and then lift up those little skirt flaps, you'll see those hidden guns that I mentioned earlier, so they can just be untabbed. And I don't know about you, but I kind of think that that looks the business, actually. Like, they're not very Optimus Prime guns in some senses. I guess it depends on the continuity maybe, but still, it does look really, really good, and it's a neat trick with how they store away. So it's a shame that there's nothing to do with the other gun here, no kind of weapon storage for when these two are in use, you know, the spoiler gun, but still, it's fun to have so many options overall. Like, I think it would have been really neat to just have somewhere to peg this in round the back. I don't know, that would have been like the ultimate, but I guess it wasn't to be. And in any case, I think this thing is actually quite a bit of fun to pick up and play with and pose with the guns and everything going on in the legs. So yeah, there are some quibbles to be had, there are some definite faults, and people are going to have tons to say about that kibble and the unpainted plastic, but you know what? It's still quite a lot of fun, I've got to say. I mean, I'm sure some people will also be like, why have they squished a Bayformers Night Prime into a car mode, right? Like, I know that it's a bit inherently odd, but actually, you know, it kind of almost makes a bit of a nice accompaniment to that larger Studio Series figure. Like, they sort of look quite good together. I really dig both of these. I know they're not perfect, and yes, they've got the detractors, but I think there's a lot of enjoyment to be had here as well. I mean, just as I've also enjoyed the Legacy G1 Universe Optimus Prime, you know, the smaller toy-styled one, and the Studio Series 86 Optimus this year, I think these two can coexist as well. And yes, for those wondering, this guy can wield the larger toy's sword, so that's pretty awesome, isn't it? Anyways, the other slight oddity here is the scale of this guy, because he's actually pretty diddy, needless to say. I do think that some of the Bayformers designs skew slightly smaller anyway versus the G1 alternatives, but here you can see that, yeah, he's pretty wee. I mean, if anything, I stand by what I said before, that this guy is sort of the weird smaller cousin to the Studio Series alternative, much as with that Legacy G1 Prime and the SS86 equivalent, so it works for me, what can I say? All told then, I've got to be honest and say that I ended up enjoying this guy way more than I thought I was going to. I got into it for the car mode, right, and that is the absolute star of the show here, but the robot mode really isn't all that bad either. Like, yes, there's plenty of complaints to be had, yes, it's got tons of kibble, yes, it's a real shell former, yes, it's missing a lot of paint applications, and yes, there are some real quirks to it all as well, but you know what? I've had fun with it. It's going to stay in my collection very happily, and that, in my book, makes it a toot. Now, as already mentioned earlier, this video is brought to you by a new sponsor for the channel, which is Hobby Genki, a Japanese collectibles specialist who have got tons of Transformers in stock and available for pre-order right now. And they've also got some incredible prices, so you will find various affiliate links in the description below, and I'd absolutely go and check them out. You can pre-order stuff, you can pay for it later, you can pay for it now, tons of options, so absolutely go and give them a look. I'd also be very grateful if you could leave me a like for today's effort, please, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but otherwise, that's it from me, so have a great rest of your day, and TTFN.